My name is Jade, and I am 26 years. 3 months ago, my grandmother said something at a family Easter dinner that finally gave a name to something I had felt my entire childhood, but had never been able to articulate. She was talking about my cousin Amber. Amber had just been promoted, a genuine achievement, something she had worked for and deserved. And my grandmother was telling the table about it with the particular pride of someone sharing their own accomplishment. Amber has always been the special one, she said. From the very beginning. Some children are just gifted. She said it without looking at me. She never looked at me when she talked about Amber. I was sitting 3 seats away. I had also been promoted that month, a different field, a different company, a quieter achievement that I had mentioned to my grandmother 2 weeks earlier on the phone. She had said, "That's nice, dear," and moved on. Let me tell you about growing up as the other granddaughter. Amber was 6 months older than me. We had grown up in the same city, attended the same family gatherings, existed within the same extended family in the particular parallel proximity of cousins who share grandparents, but not, as I discovered early, the same experience of those grandparents. My grandparents, my mother's parents, Robert and Margaret, were not unkind people. That was the complicated part. They were warm with everyone, present at gatherings. The kind of grandparents who baked things and remembered birthdays and kept photographs on their walls. From the outside, from the comfortable distance of people who didn't look closely, they appeared to be exactly what grandparents should be. But inside the family, if you paid attention, the architecture was visible. Amber's photographs were larger. That was the first thing I noticed at 7 years old, standing in my grandparents' hallway looking at the wall of family photographs. Amber's school photo was 8 by 10. Mine was 4 by 6. Both framed. Both present. Different sizes. I had not understood what it meant at 7. I had simply registered it with the particular accuracy of a child whose nervous system was paying attention even when her mind hadn't yet developed the language to process what it was collecting. By 10, I had the language. Amber got the bedroom with the window when we stayed over. I got the pullout couch. Amber's achievements were announced at dinners. Mine were noted. Amber's interests were funded dance lessons, art classes, the particular investment of grandparents who believed in a child's potential. I received birthday cards with $20 inside. Amber was consulted about family decisions. I was informed. The differences were individually small. Collectively, they formed a complete picture. And the picture said clearly, consistently, without malice, but without question, that Amber was the grandchild who mattered most. I had spent 26 years absorbing that picture without looking at it directly. Until Easter dinner. Until Amber has always been the special one. Until my grandmother said the quiet part out loud. I didn't say anything at dinner. I smiled. I congratulated Amber, genuinely, because Amber was not the villain of this story, and I had always known that, had always kept my feelings about my grandparents separate from my feelings about my cousin. Amber had not designed the dynamic. She had simply lived inside it, on the better side of it, without having reason to examine it. I drove home from Easter dinner with the particular focused calm of someone who has had something confirmed that they spent years suspecting. I called my mother. She answered on the second ring. "How are you?" she said. The careful version of the question, she had watched me at dinner, had seen something in my face. "Did you hear what Grandma said?" I said. "About Amber being the special one." A pause. "I heard," she said. "Did it?" I stopped. "Did it surprise you?" A longer pause. "No," my mother said. Quietly. "It didn't surprise me." "How long have you known?" I said. The longest pause of all. "Since you were 7, she said. "The photographs." I sat in my car outside my apartment building. "You saw that?" I said. "I saw it," she said. "I didn't know what to do with it." "I talked to your father. We decided. We didn't want to make it a bigger thing than it was. We didn't want to poison your relationship with them by pointing it out. You could have told me I wasn't imagining it, I said. I know, she said. I'm sorry. I sat with that. Mom, I said. I want to talk to them. Grandma and Grandpa. I want to say something. Jade. Not to hurt them, I said. Just to say it. Out loud. To have it acknowledged. My mother was quiet for a moment. Okay, she said. I'll support you. I went to therapy the week after Easter. Not specifically because of my grandparents. I had been seeing Dr. Kim for a year, the regular maintenance of someone who believes that having a person to think with is worth the investment. But Easter had opened something and I needed to sit with it properly. Tell me about the dinner, Dr. Kim said. I told her. How did it feel, she said, hearing her say it out loud. Like confirmation, I said. Like 26 years of something I had been sensing was suddenly visible. Real. Not something I had imagined or been too sensitive about. Had you doubted yourself? She said. I thought about it. Constantly, I said. That's the thing about things that are never said directly. They leave room for doubt. I spent 26 years wondering if I was being unfair. If I was reading too much into small things. If I was making myself the victim of something that wasn't actually happening. And now, she said. Now I have her words, I said. Amber has always been the special one. She said it at dinner in front of everyone. That's not a small thing, I misread. No, Dr. Kim said. It isn't. I called Amber on a Wednesday. This was not easy. Amber and I had always had the particular relationship of cousins who liked each other genuinely and existed in a dynamic that made genuine closeness complicated. We were warm at gatherings. We texted occasionally. We had never talked about the grandparents, about the photographs or the bedroom or the different sizes of their love. Can I talk to you about something? I said when she answered. Of course, she said. Immediately. The warmth of someone who had always been liked easily and therefore liked easily in return. I told her about Easter. About what our grandmother had said. About the photographs I had noticed at 7 and the 20 years of noting that had followed. Amber was quiet through all of it. When I finished, she said, I didn't know. I know, I said. Jade, she stopped. I genuinely didn't know. I never thought about the photographs. I never thought about another stop. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with that. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize, I said. You didn't design it. But I benefited from it, she said. The same words Daniel had said about Melissa in a different story. The words of someone who has been shown a system they were advantaged by and is choosing not to look away. Yes, I said. You did. What are you going to do? She said. Talk to them, I said. I'm going to talk to them. Do you want me there? She said. I hadn't expected that. Why would you? Because it's not right, she said simply. What they did. Even if they didn't mean it. It's not right and I should be there when you say so. I sat with that for a moment. Yes, I said. I'd like you there. My grandfather called me on Thursday. Not about the conversation I was planning, he didn't know about it yet. He called because he called occasionally, the particular irregular contact of a man who thought of his grandchildren when prompted by some internal reminder he hadn't examined. How are you, Jade? He said. Good, I said. Automatic. Then, actually, Grandpa, I want to talk to you and Grandma about something. Can I come over Saturday? Of course, he said. Warmly. We'd love to see you. I wondered if he had any idea what was coming. I didn't think he did. My grandparents had been living inside their particular dynamic for so long that I doubted they had examined it recently, if ever. That was the nature of long-held patterns. They became invisible through familiarity, as unremarkable as furniture. I was about to make it visible. I arrived at my grandparents' house at 11. Amber was already there. She had come early, which was itself a signal to my grandparents that something was different about this visit. They were in the kitchen when I arrived, my grandmother making tea with the particular focused domestic energy she brought to hospitality, my grandfather sitting at the table with his newspaper. They greeted me warmly. Of course they did, they were warm people. That had always been the complicated part. We sat in the living room. Tea. Biscuits. The ordinary ritual of a family visit that was not ordinary. I looked at the wall of photographs. Still there. Still the same sizes. Amber's 8 by 10. Mine 4 by 6. I had looked at that wall my whole life. Today I was going to say something about it. I want to talk about something, I said. And I need you both to listen without getting defensive. Can you do that? My grandmother looked at Amber. Then at me. Of course, my grandfather said. I told them. I started with Easter, with Amber has always been the special one, and I watched my grandmother's face when I repeated her own words back to her. Something shifted. A micro-expression. Quickly composed. Then I went further back. The photographs. I pointed at the wall while I said it, the specific gesture of someone who has been seeing something for 19 years and is finally pointing at it directly. The bedroom with the window. The dance lessons and the art classes versus the birthday cards with $20. The announcements at dinners versus the noting. I spoke for 20 minutes. Amber sat beside me and said nothing. Her presence was its own statement. When I finished, my grandfather was looking at his hands. My grandmother was looking at the wall of photographs. I didn't realize, my grandfather said. Quietly. Robert, my grandmother said. Her voice different from the confident warmth of Easter dinner. Something stripped of it. Margaret, he said. Look at the photographs. She looked at the wall. At the 8 by 10 and the 4 by 6. And I watched my grandmother, 73 years old, the woman who had said Amber has always been the special one at Easter dinner without thinking, see something she had apparently never allowed herself to see. Oh, she said. Just that. One syllable. But the weight of it. I didn't know I was doing it, she said. I didn't, Jade, I didn't know. I believe you, I said. That's not the same as it not happening. No, she said. It isn't. My grandfather reached across and put his hand over my grandmother's. Why Amber? I said. I've always wanted to understand. Why her specifically? My grandparents looked at each other. She reminded me of myself, my grandmother said finally. Asterisk at that age. The way she moved through the world. Confident. Certain. She paused. You were quieter. More internal. I didn't know how to reach you. And rather than learn, she stopped. I chose the easier thing. The easier thing. I had heard that phrase so many times in so many stories. The specific human failure of people who choose what is familiar over what is right. I needed you to reach, I said. Even if it was harder. I know, she said. I know that now. Amber went home after 2 hours. She hugged me at the door, the real kind, both arms, actual hold. Thank you, she said. For letting me be there. Thank you for coming, I said. It mattered, she said. That I was there. I needed to be there. After she left, I sat with my grandparents for another hour. Not processing more, we had processed enough for one Saturday. Just sitting. The three of us in the living room where I had spent holidays and birthdays and the ordinary accumulated time of a granddaughter who had always shown up even when showing up had cost something. My grandmother made more tea. She brought it to the living room on the tray she always used, the good one, the silver one she reserved for occasions. She had always used the good tray when Amber visited. She used it today. I noted it. I didn't say anything. Some things didn't need to be said. My grandfather looked at the wall of photographs while my grandmother poured. I'm going to get new frames, he said. Robert. Same size, he said. For both. My grandmother looked at the wall. Then at me. Then at her husband. Yes, she said. Same size. My mother called that evening. How did it go? She said. Hard, I said. And necessary. Did they hear you? Yes, I said. I think so. For the first time. How do you feel? I thought about it. Empty, I said. The good kind. Like something that was taking up space has been put down. The weight of it, my mother said. Yes, I said. The weight. She was quiet for a moment. Jade, she said. I want to say something. Okay, I said. I should have said something sooner, she said. Asterisk, when you were 7. When I saw the photographs. I should have talked to them then. She paused. I protected the peace instead of protecting you. And I'm sorry. I know, I said. I forgive you. Just like that, she said. You've been carrying it, I said. Asterisk, I can tell. You've been carrying it as long as I have, just differently. I paused. Put it down, Mom. She made a sound that was not quite words. Put it down, I said again. It's done now. The new frames arrived 3 weeks later. My grandmother called to tell me. They came today, she said. I put them up this morning. How do they look? I said. The same, she said. Asterisk, both the same. A pause. It looks right. It looks how it should have always looked. I sat with that. Grandma, I said. Yes. Thank you, I said. For changing them. It was the least I could do, she said. It was a start, I said. Yes, she said. A start. For months after Easter. My grandparents called every week now. Both of them, not just the occasional call from my grandfather when prompted by some internal reminder. Both of them, together, every Sunday at noon. Asking real questions. Listening to the answers. The particular focused attention of people who have understood something and are trying to apply it. My grandmother asked about my promotion. The real questions, what the new role involved, what I was working on, what I was proud of. Not, that's nice, dear, and a pivot. Actual interest. It was new. It was imperfect. 26 years of pattern does not dissolve in 4 months, and there were moments when the old habits surfaced, when Amber's name entered the conversation with slightly more warmth than mine. But she caught herself. Usually. And when she didn't, I said something gently, and she received it. That was the change. Not perfection. Receivability. Amber and I had lunch every few weeks. Something that had never happened before Easter, not because we disliked each other, but because the particular awkwardness of the dynamic had kept us at the surface of a relationship that could have been something real. It was becoming something real. She told me things I hadn't known about her experience of our grandparents, the specific pressure of being the favorite, the weight of being the one who had to be special. The particular performance anxiety of a child who understood that love was conditional on her continued excellence. I thought if I stopped being special, they would stop loving me, she said. That's its own kind of damage, I said. Yes, she said. Different from yours. But real. We were both, I understood, products of the same dynamic, just from different sides of it. Both shaped by the particular way our grandparents had distributed their love unevenly and called it family. I'm glad you said something, she said. At Easter. I'm glad you planned this Saturday. Me too, I said. It changed things, she said. For me too. Not just you. How? I said. She thought about it. I've stopped performing, she said. Asterisk for them. I used to arrive at every gathering ready to be impressive. To justify being the favorite. She looked at her coffee. I just showed up to their house last week in jeans and no makeup, and I talked about something that went wrong at work. How did that feel? I said. Like being a person, she said. Instead of a favorite grandchild. I went to my grandparents' house in July. A normal visit, no agenda, no conversation planned. Just Saturday afternoon, tea, the ordinary accumulation of time with people who were trying to know me. I stood in the hallway. The wall of photographs. Same size frames. Both of them. 8 by 10, both. My school photo and Amber's school photo, side by side, the same size. It was a small thing. A wall of photographs. And it was everything. Not because photographs fixed decades of uneven love. Not because new frames undo old patterns or make the 4x6 into something it wasn't, but because someone had looked at something they had never looked at directly and had decided to change it. And changing it, even late, even imperfectly, mattered. I want to say something to you. If you were the other grandchild, the 4x6 in a house full of 8x10s, the one whose achievements were noted while someone else's were announced, the one who grew up sensing a difference you could never quite name, you were not imagining it. The things we sense as children before we have language for them are real. The architecture of favoritism is visible to the people inside it even when nobody names it. Your nervous system was paying attention accurately, and you are allowed at any age to name it. Not to punish. Not to demand the love that should have been given differently. But to say this happened, and it cost me something, and I need you to know. Some grandparents, when shown the wall of photographs, will look at it and say, oh, and mean it, and change the frames. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, the beginning of everything. You deserved the same size frame. You always did. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Were you the favorite grandchild or the other one? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one. Tell me where you are watching from. I love knowing how far these stories reach. Until next time, you always deserved the same size frame.